Okay, so seeing this slide, so what do you think are these alien-looking cells here? Although they are pretty. Any idea of what they are?
Nerve cells po, miss, or neurobula po.
Okay. So actually, these are nerve cells or neurons, no? They are very, very nice, and you can see the highly branching structures. And the, let me just change my, yeah. Okay, and the bright areas here, they actually represent running, no, or action potentials. And we are going to have a very, very interesting discussion on this because the nervous system is said to be the system that controls, no, and regulates the bodily processes. Okay. Okay, so let's try to see your expected learning outcome. So it says here at the end of this module, the student will, number one, be able to identify and distinguish the nerve tissues and structure and their corresponding function. Second is be able to explain how nerve structures work and coordinate with each other. And third is understand the process behind nerve impulse conduction. So I said, no, it's again a very, very interesting topic. Okay. Okay, so we have here a view of our nervous system. Okay, so it shows you here the brain and the spinal cord, and then you have the cranial nerves and the spinal nerves. Okay, so they are beautifully represented. No? And they say that if you're going to isolate the nervous system from the rest of the body, it only weighs about 2 kilograms or 4.5 pounds. So you can see that it's one of the smallest systems, and yet this is the most complex of all the 11 systems of the body. No? And we said why? Because the nervous system is responsible for controlling and coordinating all our body processes. And based from our discussion last time on homeostasis, so how does the nervous system control or regulate bodily activities? So what is its specialization? Anybody who can recall? So how does the system control and coordinate bodily processes?
Ma'am, I think by stimulation po and then synapses traveling to the brain, tapos po vice versa po. Commands from the brain going to the certain body parts po.
Okay, so it's actually so the nervous system is one of the two systems that control bodily processes by actually generating and propagating not synapses but action potentials or nerve impulses. No? So actually, a synapsis is a functional communication between two neurons or between one neuron and one effector. So we are going to discuss that later. No? So that's very true. So the nervous system controls and coordinates bodily activities by the initiation and conduction not only of an action potential but a graded potential, which will be distinguished later. Okay? And sabi ko kanina, no, the nervous system is only one of two systems that regulate bodily processes. What do you think is the other system? We also mentioned that last time in our discussion of homeostasis. So recall, what is the other system that regulates the bodily activities? It's the, nakalimutan na? Ano yung isa?
Endocrine.
Okay, it's the endocrine system, no? And how does the endocrine system regulate bodily activities? I think you had your endocrinology last time, diba? Summer? Yes? By synthesizing and releasing
Hormones po.
hormones,
Hormones.
no? By synthesizing and releasing organic chemical regulators or hormones, okay? And it's stated here that the science, no, the branch of science that deals with the structures, functions, and disorders of the nervous system is called neurology. Okay, and the physician who diagnoses and treats particular diseases of the system, no, is called a neurologist, and it's one of the specializations when you go to your medical school. Okay. Okay, let's go now to the organization of the nervous system. So we said that the nervous system is divided into two. You have the central nervous system, okay, which is made up of the brain and the spinal cord. Okay, so it says here that the brain contains about 85 billion neurons, no? And the spinal cord contains about 100 million neurons. Okay, and they comprise the central nervous system because this system is said to be the main switchboard, no? Main switchboard in controlling and regulating the bodily activities. Okay, it's our control center, so it really has to be protected. Okay, uh, it's not only responsible in the control, in the coordination of bodily processes. No, it's also responsible for our perceptions, emotions, feelings, no, satiety, hunger, etc., etc. So all functions again will be discussed next meeting. Uh, will be recorded, no, for the asynchronous lecture. Now, what about the peripheral, no, peripheral nervous system? So it's made up of the nerves. Okay, you have here the cranial nerves arising from the brain and the spinal nerves arising from the spinal cord, of course. But if you're going to get a nerve and then make a cross section, so how do you now describe a nerve? Nerves tayo ng nerves, diba? Cranial nerves and spinal nerves. But how do you actually describe a nerve? Like here, it's actually made up of hundreds to thousands of, what do you think? Itong mga fiber structures na to. They're actually what part of a neuron? Diba? There are three basic parts of a neuron. You have the dendrites, the body, and the axon. So what do you think are included in a nerve? Are these the axons or the cell bodies or the neurons? They are the
Neurons po, miss.
neurons. What particular part of the neuron? The long one, the very long process. That's the, anong part kaya yon? Dendrite, cell body, or axon? Ano yung pinakamahabang part? The long,
Axon po,
okay,
miss.
so axons, no? Actually, axon. So, again, a nerve is made up of hundreds, no? Bundles of hundreds to thousands of axons. Okay, together with the associated blood vessels and the connective tissue. So we are going to discuss the structure again, no, in the second phase of the system. Okay. Okay. So again, when we say cranial nerves, again they arise from the brain. How many pairs of cranial nerves do we have? Review. How many pairs?
12.
12 pairs. So if you can remember the mnemonic device OOO, diba? To touch and feel a girl's V, yung olfactory, optic, oculomotor, trochlear, trigeminal. So again, no, a review will be provided next meeting. Okay? And then the spinal nerves, how many pairs are there? The number of pairs is also very close to the number of vertebrae. So ilang kaya? So if there are 12 pairs of cranial nerves, there are, Google muna. Nakalimutan na eh. There are how many pairs of spinal nerves? There are, ang tagal?
31 po, miss.
Okay, there are 31 pairs of spinal nerves. No? And usually, they exit okay at the junction of the vertebrae. So again, no, a detailed discussion will be presented to you next meeting. Okay. Now, usually when we have discussions, no, we always say that the peripheral nervous system consists of the cranial nerves and the spinal nerves, and then we end. But no, there are other composition. So it also includes the ganglia, the enteric plexuses, and of course we have the receptors. Okay. So at the base of like shown here, no, at the base of each spinal nerve and also associated with the cranial nerves, you have presence of parang button-like structures or swellings. And these are the ganglia. So singular ganglion. So how do you describe a ganglion? What is a ganglion? Why is it swollen? So it's actually a mass or an aggregation of all the soma or cell bodies of neurons in the peripheral nervous system. Okay, so please take note the neurons are not only found in the central nervous system, but they are also found in the peripheral nervous system. So if you kaya nga ito, no, if you make again a cross section of the nerve, it's actually made up of the thousands or the hundreds or the thousands of axons arising from the cell bodies or the soma of neurons. Okay. What about an enteric plexus? So the prefix or the word enteric means the intestinal tract, no? Enteron. And the enteric plexus or plexuses, no, is said to be made up of 100 millions of neurons then, okay, that occupy the walls of the gastrointestinal tract. And this is the reason why we have another part of the peripheral nervous system. So aside from the um, somatic and the autonomic nervous system, we have the so-called enteric nervous system pa. So we would discuss that, no? So the enteric plexuses are very important in the coordination of the works of the gastrointestinal tract. Okay? And then lastly, we have the sensory receptors, not only in the skin, okay, but also the special sense receptors now found in our special senses. Okay? So if you can still recall, no, the discussion of your integumentary system last semester, yung zoology nyo yata, no? So what's the work of the Rufinis corpuscles or the Rufinis nerve endings, if you can still recall? You discussed the integumentary system, right? Yes? MEB23? Yes? Wala na kausap, natulog na sila. Na-discuss nyo ba? Hindi. Guys.
Ma'am, ako po as bio tuto na discuss ko po.
Okay. So yung iba hindi. So anyway, so we are just going to briefly run down their functions, but if you want, you can know the details na when you consult an integumentary system reference. Because the integumentary system is not anymore part of our fish. No? We already removed that. Anyway, so the Rufinis nerve endings, they sense heat, okay, whereas the cross, no, mga end bulb of cross, they sense cold. So these are the temperature receptors. Okay. Now, relative to all other receptors, as you could see, the Pacinian corpuscles are located deep down in the dermis because they are responsible for sensing pressure. No? So when you pinch yourself, when you want to test the weight of a particular object before lifting it, so this is the work of the Pacinian corpuscles. Okay. And then we have the different tactile receptors. So when you say tactile, they are the touch receptors. Okay. So we have the Meissner's corpuscles, we have the Merkel disc, and then we have the hairwood plexuses. Okay. And another one, we have the naked nerve ending or the free nerve endings. It may also be tactile. It senses soft touch in relation to a hair follicle, and it also senses pain. Okay. So those are the receptors. So again, you can check the details of their functions now in other references. Okay. Now for the special senses, so we have the rods and cones, no, of our eyes, syempre for vision, and then we have the receptors of the olfactory epithelium, and then we have the receptors of the auditory epithelium, and then we have the taste buds, now found mainly in the tongue. Okay, so actually these receptors, okay, they are the ones monitoring kaya nga, no, they are called receptors because they are the ones monitoring the changes in the external, in the internal environment, no. If we're going to compare them to laboratory equipment, so they are the probes, no, that collect data from the substrate or from the subject matter, no. So, and without for these receptors, it would be impossible for the system to survive, no? Because they are the ones telling the system, the CNS, oh, there are changes in the external, in the entire environment. And as an individual, as an organism, you have to respond to those particular changes. Okay? So again, no, these are the composition of our peripheral nervous system. Okay. Now, in terms of organization, as represented by a chart, again, you have the CNS and the PNS. We've discussed the brain and the spinal cord already. What about the divisions of the peripheral nervous system now? So we have here the somatic nervous system, the autonomic nervous system, and another system, which is the enteric nervous system. Okay. So it says here the somatic nervous system from the word or from the prefix soma means body. Okay, so this system includes all receptors, no, sensory receptors and special sense receptors, um, getting, of course, stimulation or impulses from the body, no, from the neck, from the trunk, from the limbs, going to the CNS. So the CNS processes the information and makes a corresponding decision and sends the decision via motor neurons. Okay, that now stimulate muscles to contract, stimulate skeletal muscles to contract. That's why the somatic nervous system is said to control and regulate voluntary responses now because we can consciously control the contractions of our skeletal muscles. Okay. What about the autonomic nervous system? The autonomic nervous system now, when you say auto, it means self, nomos meaning law. Okay? So it means it's a very independent system and the contraction cannot be controlled by our skeletal muscles. No? So it now includes sensory receptors that collect information from our viscera. No, the viscera is the term for all our internal organs. No? And then send the impulses to the CNS again for processing and interpretation and includes motor neurons, okay, that send impulses to smooth muscles, cardiac muscles, and glands. Okay, and we said no, we cannot consciously control the contraction of our smooth muscles and our cardiac muscles. And of course, okay, we have the glands, no? So an effector could be a smooth muscle or a cardiac muscle in the gland. Okay, that's why the autonomic nervous system is said to control and regulate involuntary responses. Okay, involuntary responses. So they can move on their own. No? Kaya nga autonomic. And it has two, no, the motor branch or the motor aspect has two branches. You have the sympathetic and the parasympathetic division. So the sympathetic nervous system, it works no, actively when the body is also very, very active. Okay. So it consists of the flight or fight responses. Okay. Those activities that really expend, no, expend a lot of energy. And if there is a system that expends a lot of energy, that really excites the body, so there is a system now that not really inactivates, but sets the or returns the body into its resting state, and that's the parasympathetic nervous system. No? So this is said to be very active when we are resting. This is referred to as the rest and the digest system. Like for example, no, the sympathetic nervous system increases heartbeat. Okay, the parasympathetic nervous system naman decreases heartbeat, returns it to normal. Okay, and then again, we have the enteric nervous system. It was once thought to be a part or a branch of the autonomic nervous system. No? But studies show that this 100 million neurons, no, the activities of the 100 billion neurons is um, somehow independent, no, of the work of the autonomic and the peripheral nervous system. Okay, but they still communicate with the central nervous system by means of the sympathetic and the parasympathetic neurons. Okay, and the enteric nervous system, okay, sabi nga natin, no, includes 100 million of neurons, 100 million neurons that send impulses, no, send sensory impulses again from the gut, going to the CNS, and then motor impulses from the CNS going again to the gut. No? Going to the smooth muscles, the glands, and the endocrine cells of the gastrointestinal tract. That's why the enteric nervous system is said to be the brain of the gut. Kasi it's really responsible for controlling the activities of the gastrointestinal tract. Okay? So more of the functions and descriptions will be provided in the asynchronous meeting next week. Okay. Now, what about the functions of the nervous system? So there are three. You have sensory, and then you have integrative, and then you have the motor. Okay. So in relation to the receptors we discussed earlier, the sensory function no, allows our sensory receptors in the skin, no, the cutaneous receptors in the skin, and the special senses to monitor changes in the external and the internal environments. So after getting this sensations or messages, so they will now be transported to the CNS for integration. So that's the integrative, no, integrative function of the system. So the system, especially the CNS, now interprets, no, interprets, integrates the different sensations or impulses coming from the receptors, and make a corresponding decision. Okay, so that an appropriate response is now sent to effector organs via the motor neurons. So the motor neurons, they send motor impulses to effectors such as muscles and glands. So if muscles now are stimulated, they contract. If glands are stimulated, they now secrete their secretions. Okay, so the sensory part is the input part of the system. Okay, sending impulses to the CNS, and the motor part is the output part. So this carries actually the response, no, that is expected of a particular effector structure. Again, it could either be a muscle or a gland. Okay. Okay. Now we go to the nervous tissue. Okay, one of the meat of our discussion this morning. No? So again, you see here neurons, no? Very, very beautiful neurons, and regions of excitation. So you have regions of nerve impulse potential, nerve impulse transmission or action potential transmission. Okay, so the neurons. Okay, ito na. If you have here a micrograph of a nervous tissue, usually in the lab, okay, neurons are really staying dark, and they are really very conspicuous. They are very, very obvious under the microscope. So sometimes if you check the slide, using your eye only, your naked eye, you can see dark dots, and those are the neurons. No? And they're also highly branched. So the neurons, being very large and ano ba, highly specialized, okay, they are not only, the neurons are the functional, the structural and the functional unit of the nervous system, no? As osteon is to bone, as sarcomere is to muscle, as alveolus is to the lungs, no? So the neurons are the functional unit, and the neurons are said to be very important in the propagation, in the initiation and the propagation of impulses. So aside from that, the neurons are very specialized in, they are really the ones working in our memory, perception, emotions, sensations, etc., etc. And since they are very specialized, they now have lost the ability to divide. Okay, so they don't divide anymore. That's why if a person suffers from, for example, brain injury or spinal cord injury, so it's really, really near impossible to recuperate, no, from that particular disease or from the particular damage, because neurons cannot regenerate. Whereas the neuroglial cells, they are a lot smaller, but they outnumber neurons, no, 25 is to 1. And under the microscope, you don't really expect to differentiate uh, the five, no, the five neuroglial cells, but you can see their nuclei then, no? And from the prefix neuro, it means, of course, neuron or nervous tissue, and then glial, suffix glial. Glial means glue. Okay, so generally, the neuroglia, they now glue or they now support, no, support the neurons. They don't only support the neurons, they provide protection. They form myelin sheets. Okay, they also regulate the composition of the CSF, so which we are going to discuss later. Okay, so yan, no? Okay, so let's now try to see the structure of a neuron. Let's get a neuron and then examine its parts, no? So the three basic parts are, again, you have the dendrites, then you have the cell body, and then you have the axon. Okay, so the input parts again are the dendrites, no? And in terms of description, they are they are shorter and they are highly branching. And they are more numerous compared to an axon because there is always one axon per cell. Okay? So the dendrites are the ones receiving messages, no? Messages or inputs from another neuron, or if this is a cutaneous receptor, from the skin. Okay? So they now send impulses, usually ang tawag doon graded, no? Graded action potential. We will discuss them later, no? So they send now impulses to the cell body. Okay, the cell body is also known as the soma or the perikaryon. Peri meaning around, karyon meaning nucleus. No? So the soma is just like a typical cell. It consists of the very conspicuous nucleus. You have different organelles such as the mitochondria. Okay, you have an extensive network of endoplasmic reticulum. So we call those networks as Nissl bodies. And then you have also the presence of neurofibrils, okay, that now support and also allow movement of substances and organelles within the soma or the perikaryon. Okay, so the soma is responsible again for the integration of all sensory inputs. Okay, and then it has parang a neck part. No, it has the axon hillock. So this is actually the connection between the axon and the cell body or the soma of the neuron, no? Na sinabi niyo axon hillock, it's a small hill. So ito, okay? And then next you have here the axon. It's a very, very long structure where in fact if you have a very large neuron, no, the axon can run from either the CNS or it can either run from the brain or the spinal cord going to the tips of our toes. So ganun sila kahaba, no? So what are the parts of an axon? So usually, no, not usually. So sometimes, no, there are transverse branches. So we call them the axon collaterals. So they are at right angles to the axon. By the way, it's called an axon because it forms the main axis of the neuron. Okay, and then you have the myelin sheath. Okay, so the myelin sheaths, okay, they are now produced by two types of neuroglia. No? So later we're going to discuss that. But anyway, the myelin sheath is a very important electrical insulator. Okay? And in between the myelin sheaths, you have areas of the axon which are unmyelinated. So these are the nodes of Ranvier. And the nodes of Ranvier, the presence of the nodes of Ranvier and the myelin sheath now allows the rapid conduction of impulses. So we are going to have another discussion of that on that now. And then going back, no, so the cytoplasm of the axon is called the axoplasm, and the cell membrane of an axon is called the axolemma. Okay, and the axolemma is very important in the propagation of a nerve impulse or an action potential. Okay, and then okay, looking at the end of an axon, again, it now branches, okay, to become several axon terminals, each ending into a synaptic bulb or a terminal button. Okay, so what else? Before that, no, in addition pa pala, no, the axoplasm also contains neurofibrils and mitochondria. Okay, but they don't have endoplasmic reticulum anymore. So it means protein synthesis does not happen in the axon. Okay? So what else? Okay na. So that would be for the structure and functions of the neuron. No? Now, in terms of, yes, question?
Question po. Yung kanina po bang ni cell bodies po is yung po yung rough endoplasmic
Yes.
reticulum po?
Yes, oo. It's a very complex network of the RER.
Thank you po,
And,
Miss.
okay, welcome. And I forgot to mention, of course, no, the dots here, they also represent the ribosomes, diba? Kaya nga siya tinatawag na rough endoplasmic reticulum. Okay? Okay, now in terms of structural classification, so we have here 3 types, and the classification depends upon the number of dendrites and the number of axon per cell. Okay? So a multipolar neuron, no, from the term multi-polar, multi meaning many, so it contains a lot of dendrites and 1 axon. So most of our, no, not most, majority of our neurons are of the multipolar type. Okay? Now, what about a bipolar? Bipolar, there are 2 processes. You have 1 dendrite and then you have 1 axon. Okay, 1 dendrite and then you have 1 axon. No? So usually, the receptors of our special senses, no, yung vision, olfactory, auditory, they are of this type. Okay? And then we have the unipolar, uni meaning you have 1 process. So this is the process. The process is actually a fusion of the dendrites and the axon. Okay, and that process is now, the fusion, no, is located on one side of the cell body. Unlike ito, you have 1 process and then cell body and then dendrite. Ito din, di ba? You have the processes and then body and then dendrites. The processes or the dendrites and then cell body and then axon. Ito, there is now fusion, no? And our cutaneous receptors, no, the cutaneous nerves, no, they are, the cutaneous cells are examples of the unipolar neurons. Okay? So take note, the number of dendrites may vary depending on the type, no, but there would always be 1 axon per cell. So it ensures, no, the presence of an axon ensures that the impulses would travel in just one direction. Okay, hindi kung saan-saan pupunta. Okay? Kasi imagine, no, the travel of the impulse should be very, very fast, no? It's measured in milliseconds eh. So kung maraming branches yan, baka kung saan-saan pumunta yung impulses. Okay? And eto, no? What we're trying to say is that usually the receptors, no? You have the cutaneous receptors, you have yung kanina, yung Pacinian, Rufinis, and bulb of cross, naked nerve endings. They're actually the dendrites. They're actually dendrites of the cutaneous receptors. So you have there the dendrites, tapos you have the axon. Tapos you have there the cell body. Okay? Yan. Now, aside from the structural classification, some neurons, okay, can also be classified after the surname of the person who discovered it or who described it and the shape. Okay, like for example, you have the Purkinje cells in the cerebellum, yung dito sa may likod, no? So, the Purkinje cell was named after the one who described it. I just didn't check the first name, pero the surname is Purkinje, okay? And then another one is the pyramidal cell, which is found in our cerebral cortex, dito sa cerebrum. So, it's called a pyramidal cell, syempre because, no, of its shape. It's like a pyramid. Okay? So, yun. That's why in some references, no, you just don't see the multipolar, bipolar, unipolar. Ito, you can see the names Purkinje and pyramidal cells. Okay? Okay, what about the functional classification of the neuron? So we have sensory, integrative, and then motor. So take note, no, functions of the neurons, they now dictate the functions of the entire nervous system, especially the CNS. Okay? Not only the CNS pala, tama, the entire nervous system. So we have a sensory neuron. No? Like example, you have a cutaneous receptor. No, again, this is the dendrite, no, of a sensory neuron. So a sensory neuron again monitors changes in the external and internal environment, and sends the signals to interneurons. So when you say interneurons, they are in between the sensory and the motor. They are also called the association neurons, which are responsible in the integration of sensory inputs. So again, they are found in the CNS. No? And then we have the motor neurons conducting motor impulses to effectors. So again, effectors could either be glands or muscles. Okay? So I guess we've explained this naman earlier. Okay, what about the neuroglial cells now? Okay? So earlier, no, we said that because of neurons being highly specialized, they now lost the ability to divide. Okay? And that's not true for the case of neuroglia. The neuroglial cells, they have the capacity to divide. They have the capacity to mitose. Hence, they are very important in tissue regeneration, in the nerve tissue regeneration. Okay? Now, there are 6 types of neuroglia. Okay, 4 of which are found in the central nervous system, and 2 are found in the peripheral nervous system. Okay? So let's have the astrocytes. Okay, the blue ones, ito. Okay, they are called astrocytes, okay, because they are star-shaped. Okay, and they have a lot of branching processes. Okay, so the astrocytes are said to contain a lot of microfilaments, now making them very, very strong. That's why the astrocytes are responsible for supporting the neurons and the other neuroglia. That's their work. No? So one of the functions. Another, try to see, they come in contact with surfaces of neurons, and also surfaces of blood vessels and surfaces of the cells of the pia mater. The pia mater is the innermost lining or membrane of the brain, no, covering. So you have the arachnoid, the pia mater, and the dura mater, the arachnoid, and the pia mater. No, they form the meninges of the brain. Okay, so let's try to see first there are types. Now you have the protoplasmic astrocytes. So they have more branching processes, and they have somehow blunt ends compared to the fibrous astrocytes. Okay, so they now communicate with the neurons. They also communicate, now the branches also communicate with the pia mater. The other one is the fibrous astrocyte. So a fibrous astrocyte has lesser branching processes, no? And the processes now, they communicate with the blood vessels. Okay, so another difference in terms of location, the protoplasmic astrocytes, they are mostly found in the gray matter of the nervous tissue, whereas the fibrous astrocytes are found mainly in the white matter. Now, why? Let's try to see the other functions. No? So you can see the processes of the astrocytes, they now parang form a sheet, no, around the blood vessels, forming the blood-brain barrier. Okay? So ito. So you have here the blood vessel, tas you have here the extensions or the processes of astrocytes wrapping, no, the blood vessels. What do you think is the purpose of this blood-brain barrier? From the term blood-brain barrier.
I think, ma'am, it separates the blood vessels from the ano po, brain tissues po.
Come again, it?
It separates the blood vessels from the brain tissue po.
Yeah, it separates the blood vessels from the brain tissue. Why? Kasi no, blood really would not come in contact with the brain no? Why? Why is there a functional separation between the blood and the nervous tissue? Because the blood, syempre, contains not only the substances that are utilized by the cells of the body, but the blood may also contain what? It may
Gases.
also, yes? Kasi halimbawa,
Toxin.
after, di ba, after being, after the functions of the gastrointestinal tract, especially the gut, so nutrients will be absorbed, di ba, by the blood. And sometimes no people can intake ano kaya ang mga harmful substances na pwedeng nasa dugo. So there could be,
Fat po, ma'am.
come again,
Fat po.
fat, yeah, ano pa? Aside from fat, there could be
Toxins, Pat.
toxins. Yeah, that's very correct, no? There could be toxins, no, there could be harmful substances, there could be microorganisms. Okay? And those toxins, no, they should not really enter our nervous tissue. Kasi if they do, wala. Deads tayo agad, 'di ba? Because they would most definitely affect our neurons. And the neurons, no, the brain and the spinal cord, they are the control centers of the body. So when they will be damaged, wala na tayo agad, deads na tayo agad, no? So yun. So that's the very important work of the astrocytes. They now form a blood-brain barrier. Okay, this barrier is now very, very selective. No, it's very choosy. It really chooses substances, no, that might pass, no, between the blood and the nervous tissue. Okay, thereby regulating the composition of the cerebrospinal fluid. So that's the interstitial fluid. Now we call the interstitial fluid in the brain tissue and the spinal tissue or the nervous tissue in general as the cerebrospinal fluid. Okay. So yun, no? Now, that's also the work of the protoplasmic astrocyte. The processes, they also communicate with the cells of the pia mater, no? The inner menings or the inner lining, again, forming a blood-brain barrier because there are also blood vessels here, okay? So generally for protection and ensuring that the cerebrospinal fluid contains the necessary ions and chemicals for the transmission of the impulses, okay? Another type uh, of another pala, no? Another function of astrocytes is that they now influence um, learning and memory, okay, by influencing the formation of synapses. Again, a synapse is a functional communication between neurons or between a neuron and an effector. No? Parang yung kanilang junction. And sabi nila, 'di ba, being forgetful. No, there are studies no saying that being forgetful could be a sign of intelligence. Why is that? So if a person, like for example, forgets insignificant details, no, it could be a sign of intelligence. Why is that? No, pag pala naging makakalimutin ka, ano daw yan, senyales ng pagiging matalino. Bakit kaya? Because they say that no the sabi natin diba the neurons they are very specialized no they can now break a synapse or a functional communication and they now can form other synapses with other neurons, okay? Parang if this is a particular synapse, okay, responsible for a particular learning or memory, okay, and if the brain, okay, needs to make a more significant decision or a larger decision, okay, the synapse between neurons can be broken and the neurons, no, they can now reassociate with other neurons. They can now form other synapse now with other neurons. And they say that the astrocytes, no, they now influence the formation of new synapses. So ganun pala yun, ano? So we tend to forget little things or insignificant memories because our neurons, no, they are making other connections with other neurons, so for us to be able to make a bigger decision. So ganun pala yun. Okay? What else about the astrocytes? Oh, okay na. Okay, another group we have here, the green ones. Okay, we have the microglia. I forgot to mention again, the astrocytes are said to be the biggest, no, the biggest and the most numerous among all the neuroglia. Okay, okay. Next we have the microglia, the green ones. So the microglia, they are actually examples of what? Blood cells. Can you recall from our previous discussion? They are examples of what? Blood cells. They are macrophages. So it means they are examples of what blood cells?
White blood cells po.
Which of the 5 white blood cells? Macrophages. They are examples of, they are mature forms of, di ba meron tayong 5, neutro, iyo, peso, mono, and lymphocyte. So alin dun sa 5? They are actually specialized. Nakalimutan na naman. They are specialized monocytes, diba? Sabi natin, when monocytes leave the circulation, they become either wandering or fixed macrophages. Okay? So these are examples of fixed macrophages found in the nervous tissue. As Langerhans cells is to the skin, as an osteoclast is to a bone. So the resident macrophages in the nervous tissue are the microglial cells or the microglia. Okay? And since they are macrophages, they are responsible for the protection of the nervous tissue. Okay, for cleaning the nervous tissue. Okay, for maintaining the order, no, of the nervous tissue. So they eat bacteria, they eat viruses. Okay, they also phagocytose cellular debris during normal development. Okay, so that's the work of the microglia. Okay. Now, another example of a neuroglia are the oligodendrocytes. So when you say oligo, it means few. So they have fewer branching processes compared to astrocytes. And you try to see their branching processes. Okay, so they tend to wrap around the axons of neurons. So it's stated that the oligodendrocytes are responsible for the myelination. Myelination is the production of myelin sheath. Ito yung myelin sheath. Okay? They are responsible for myelination of axons in the central nervous system. Okay? And one oligodendrocyte can myelinate one, okay, to more axons. Okay? Can myelinate one or more axons. So yun, because we're going to compare this to the work of the Schwann cell later. Okay? So we have here the ependymal cells or the ependymal cells. So it's actually composed of one layer of cuboidal to columnar cells. And the cells are said to be provided with microvilli and cilia. Okay, so what do you think is the purpose of the ependymal cells? Kasi they line the cavities, no? They line the cavities of the brain and the spinal cord. So the cavities of the brain are called ventricles. So when you say ventricle, it's not only found in the heart, meron din yan sa brain. Okay, so the cavities of the brain are called ventricles, and the cavity or the space, diba, in the spinal cord, that's the central canal. No? So those cavities or those spaces, they are lined, no, they are covered with the ependymal cells. And what do you think is the purpose of the ependymal cells? Being having the microvilli and the cilia. Sabi, the ependymal cells they now form a blood CSF barrier naman, no? Blood CSF barrier. So imagine you have here the ventricle of the brain. The ventricles, they also have blood vessels eh. Sorry, outside, no? Outside the ventricle, meron doong mga blood vessels din eh. Okay? So it means that the ependymal cells, okay, they are believed to produce the CSF, yung cerebrospinal fluid. That's the interstitial fluid na circulating within the brain and the spinal cord. Okay, um, by ensuring no, that the composition of the interstitial fluid or the composition of the plasma, okay, would be regulated. No? Once there is now diffusion of this fluid going to the brain and the spinal cord. Parang they now regulate naman, no? They regulate the composition of the cerebrospinal fluid, ensuring that important ions are present and also ensuring that toxins will not be able to reach inside the brain and the spinal cord. Okay? And the purpose of the cilia is, diba, they beat, no? And the beating action of the cilia causes a current allowing the CSF to flow within the brain and the spinal cord. So hindi siya static eh. No, the CSF does not stay in place. It should circulate kasi this is the one distributing nutrients, gases, removing waste no from the entire CNS. Eh. So it should also circulate. Okay? Kasi nga blood vessels are not found inside the brain and the spinal cord. Okay, tissue. Okay? So those are the functions of the four neuroglia within the CNS. What about the two neuroglia that are found in the peripheral nervous system? So first we have the Schwann cell. Okay, so the Schwann cell is now responsible for myelination of the axons in the peripheral nervous system. Okay, and one difference between an oligodendrocyte and a Schwann cell is that a Schwann cell can only myelinate one axon. Whereas an oligodendrocyte, sabi natin, can myelinate one to two or one or more axons. Okay? What about the satellite cells? So the satellite cells, they somewhat, they function somewhat like the astrocytes of the CNS. So the satellite cells, they now cover the cell bodies or the soma of neurons in the PNS. They also support them and they also regulate the substances that are transported to and from the neurons and the interstitial fluid. Okay? So, ang may trabaho niyan sa CNS yung mga astrocytes. Sa PNS, ang mga satellite cells. Okay? Then you have here the Schwann cells. Okay. So, I think that ends the neuroglia naman. No? Now, there are certain terms that are sometimes used interchangeably. So it means you have to really know the difference between them or among them. No? So we have the different collections of nervous tissues. So we said that a ganglion, ito, no? So this neuron, no, when they form a mass, no, it's called a ganglion, diba? So we said that a ganglion is a cluster or an aggregation of the cell bodies of neurons lying in the PNS. Okay, now a cluster of cell bodies in the CNS is called a nucleus. So ito. Okay, so if the cluster lies within the CNS, it's called a nucleus. If it lies outside the CNS, if it's in the PNS, it's called a ganglion. Okay, what about a nerve? Sabi natin, no, a nerve is a bundle of axons lying in the PNS. In the CNS, that bundle is called a tract. Okay, so they are the same in terms of structure. The only difference in their names is in the location. Okay, pag nerve, PNS, pag tract, CNS. Pag ganglion, PNS, pag nucleus, CNS. Okay? Okay. And eto din, no, I forgot to mention here, usually the fibrous astrocytes, no, they are found in the white matter of the spinal cord, and the protoplasmic astrocytes are found in the gray matter of the spinal cord. So ano ba yung gray at saka white matter? Okay? So if you have here a cross-section of the brain, a cross-section of the spinal cord, you have areas of the gray matter. Ito, areas of the gray matter. Okay? And the gray matter consists mainly of the neuronal cell bodies. Okay, you have dendrites, unmyelinated axons, axon terminals, and neuroglia. Okay? And the white matter is composed mainly of myelinated axons. Now, that's why it's called white, because usually the myelin sheets, no, they impart the white appearance to the brain tissue. Okay? And usually, the gray matter is called gray matter nga because the cell bodies of neurons, they are darkly staining it, no, giving the appearance. And the dark coloration of the neurons is actually attributed to complex networks of these cell bodies in the soma. Yung kanina, no, yung extensive networks of the rough endoplasmic reticulum. Okay? Now, so ito, no? So like any other cells in the body, the neurons, they communicate with one another, di ba? Sabi natin, they communicate via impulses. Okay? So you have, they communicate by utilizing graded potentials and action potentials. Okay? So just to give you an overview, no, because it's very hard to explain what a graded potential is and an action potential without really explaining the mechanisms. Okay? Just take note, no, for now, that graded potentials are small deviations, no, from the resting membrane potential. They are weak impulses that are utilized in short distance communications. Yun muna, no, for now. That's why if you have the sensory receptor, okay, you have the sensory receptor, you have here regions of synapses. Okay, you can see the short blue arrows, okay, representing the conduction of a graded potential. No, again, graded potential for short distance communications. No? And then you have the longer black arrows. Okay, they now represent the action potentials or the nerve impulse. So an action potential is utilized in long distance, no, or for long distance communication. Okay? So yun muna, no? So we are going to go back to this and explain this more clearly. Okay? So again, the neurons, no, they communicate utilizing graded and action potentials, no, because the neurons are the membrane, no, are very, very sensitive. And it says here that the production of the graded and the action potentials is actually influenced by two very important features of the cell membrane. Okay, so first feature is the presence of ion channels, and the second feature is the resting membrane potential. No? Resting membrane potential. Okay, so we still have time. Okay, so we have here the ion channels. Okay, recall your discussion in the discussion of the fluid mosaic model of the cell membrane. Sabi natin, in the fluid mosaic model of the cell membrane, you have the presence of the phospholipid bilayer. And these are examples of what types of proteins? Can you recall? There are two types of proteins comprising the cell membrane. So what do you call the proteins that span across the membrane? They are really inserted through the membrane. They are called, tatandaan pa yon? Nina. Nina naman. Can you remember those? Hindi na ulit. No? So anyway, so reviewing the structure of a membrane, there are the so-called integral proteins. So they are the ones inserted through the bilayer. And there are peripheral proteins. They are either found on the surface of the inner membrane or the outer membrane. In this case, you have here examples of integral proteins lang, no? Sabi natin, the cell membrane is very selective. It's semi-permeable. It means it allows the passage of certain substances to and from the cell. And the specificity of the functions of the cell membrane can be attributed to the functions of integral proteins. Okay? Because integral proteins, they have 6 functions no? So one, they can be they can be a channel or a pore. So that's one. They can be a transporter. So kindly review a particular reference on the phospholipid bilayer and the fluid mosaic model of the cell membrane. No? So again, an integral protein can function as a channel, as a transporter, as a receptor, as an enzyme, as a cell identity marker, and as a cytoskeleton anchor. So anim. No? And you are seeing here the functions of only one type. No, of only one type, and these are the channel proteins or the pore proteins. Okay, so they say that when these channels, when these ion channels are open, the substances, they move down their electrochemical gradient. Okay, so when you say electrochemical gradient, gradient means there is a difference. So there is a difference in the concentration, chemical, and there is also a difference in the electrical charge. So if you can recall your discussion on the transport processes, active processes, passive processes. Diba? In passive processes, you have diffusion, osmosis, facilitated diffusion, simple diffusion, filtration. So substances move from an area of higher concentration to an area of lower concentration. So the same case is true here. Okay? So when the channels are open, the substances, they move down their electrochemical gradient. They move from an area of higher concentration to an area of lower concentration, together with their charges. Okay? And the channels, they are said to be gated. Gated. And the opening and the closure of the gates would be dependent on several factors, mainly on the type of stimulus, allowing the opening and the closure of the channel, okay, or the gates of the channel. Okay. Now there are 4 types. You have the leak channels, guidance gated, mechanically gated, and the voltage gated. Okay, pag sinabi nating leak channels, from the term leak, so it permits the leakage, pagtakas lang ng mga molecules. And it says here you have illustrations or figures showing closed channels and closed gates and open gates. So a leak channel can randomly open and close. Okay, so you have here a leak channel with open gates allowing passage of substances. An example here is the potassium leak channel. We have also sodium leak channels. Okay. So another you have here the ligand gated channel. So the closure and the opening of the gates is because of the presence of different ligands or chemicals. An example you have here, acetylcholine. This is the most common neurotransmitter. So when an acetylcholine binds to its receptor, the gates now open, facilitating the passage of substances. So some substances can enter the cell, some substances can go out of the cell. Okay. Another is the mechanically gated channel, mechanically gated ion channel. So the closure and the opening is now regulated by or stimulated by a mechanical stimulus. Examples, you have vibrations, sound, o kaya touch, then pressure, then tissue stretching. So ito yung mga sounds. So you have a special senses, touch and pressure are found in the skin, and also tissue stretching. There are stretch receptors in the walls of the internal organs especially. Okay, so when a particular mechanical stimulus arrives at this part of the membrane,
this now causes the gates to open. And again, no substances can pass through the cell. And lastly, you have the voltage gated, voltage gated channels. So it says here that the gates, they close and open in response to a particular voltage or a change in the membrane potential. Parang may electrical charge, no? A change in the electrical charge of the membrane. Okay? So we are going to discuss them as we go along the discussion of the graded and the action potential. Okay. You have here a table summarizing the descriptions of the different channels, ion channels, and their location. Like for example, no, you have the leak channels and the voltage-gated sodium and potassium channels, no, especially this one. So these are found in all, no, in the axons of all types of neurons. The ligand and the mechanically gated channels, they are found mostly in the dendrites and the cell bodies, okay, of some neurons, explaining the formation of graded potentials, no, as opposed to the formation of an action potential. Now, usually those neurons, no, uh, able to, which are able to initiate and transmit an action potential, they usually have a lot of leak channels and the voltage gated channels. Okay. Okay, now. Okay, so we have the last topic for the first part, yung resting membrane potential. Okay, so I said earlier that neurons, they can communicate utilizing graded potential and an action potential. Okay, and a graded potential is said to be a small deviation from a resting membrane potential, and an action potential is somehow a bigger deviation from a resting membrane potential. Now, what is a resting membrane potential? First and foremost, no? Okay, so it stated that, okay, when the cell membrane is not stimulated, no, when the cell membrane is resting, okay, it has a more negative charge, okay, imparted on its inner membrane, and more positive charge, no, imparted on its upper surface of the membrane. Okay, so this is the normal, no? The normal um, membrane electrical potential. No, it's more negative on the inside than the outside. Okay, because when one would want to measure the voltage, okay, of a resting membrane, no, so a voltmeter is utilized. Okay, so a reference electrode is placed at the extracellular fluid, and a recording microelectrode is now inserted into the cell. It's now inserted in the cell membrane. Okay, and the voltmeter, okay, records that the resting membrane potential is at negative 70 millivolts. Okay, it means when the cell membrane is not activated, when the cell membrane is resting, no, its normal voltage is negative 70 millivolts. So negative, okay, means that the inner surface is relatively more negative compared to the upper surface of the membrane. Okay, and please remember that, no? It's the resting membrane potential. The resting membrane potential is pegged at negative 70 millivolts. So that's the normal electrical charge of the membrane when it is resting. Okay. Now, how is the resting membrane potential attained? Now, let's try to see. Recall again, no? You should have discussed this in your transport processes, yung primary active transport. Okay. Now, in this illustration, it simply states here that um, you have presence of cations and anions outside the cell and inside the cell. Of course, that's natural, no? But if you're going to sum the charges of the ions, okay, outside of the cell and inside of the cell, they would now equal, okay, to one another. Okay, somehow canceling their charges, diba? But the if there are equal, no, relatively equal number of positive and negative ions both in the outer and the inner membrane, how come, okay, that the inner surface is relatively more negative than the outside? So that's the question. Okay, so it's stated that there are three possible reasons, no, for generating the resting membrane potential. So number one is the unequal distribution of ions in the ECF and in the cytosol. Okay, unequal distribution of ions. So it says here that the major cations outside the cell are the sodium ions, and the major anions or negatively charged ions are the chloride ions. That's why we're saying that cells, no, animal cells are bathed in sodium chloride solution. So when we perspire, when we sweat, no, and if we're able to taste our sweat, it's salty, it's not sweet. Okay? It's because normally animal cells are bathed in sodium chloride solution. Okay? Now in the cytosol, in the liquid part of the cytoplasm, the major cations are the potassium ions, and the major anions are the phosphates and the amino acids in proteins. Okay? And going back to this, no, this states that if you sum the ions in both the external and the internal environments, they would somehow equal. But our question was, no, why is it that the inner surface of the membrane is relatively more negative compared to the outside? Okay, so number one, let 1A, no, it could be related to the proximity of ions. So you try to see this figure. So which ions, no, in the cytosol, which ions are more proximal or nearer the membrane? O alin dyan? Kita naman, di ba? So these are the anions, no? The anions, they now cluster nearer the membrane. And in your chemistry and physics, di ba? The substances with opposite charges, they attract. So if the anions they cluster nearer the inner membrane, so they would now attract cations, no, that would cluster nearer the outer surface of the membrane. Hence the charge, no, positive outside, negative inside. Okay. So another is that, no, the leakiness of the channels. So going back in the discussion of the ion channels, it says here that there are more potassium channels than sodium leak channels. So that the membrane is said to be more permeable to potassium ions than sodium ions. So the membrane is more leaky to potassium ions. So mas marami raw mga potassium leak channels. Okay? So if there are a lot of potassium leak channels, so it means that the potassium ions, okay, can leak out. Okay, they can leak out, thereby imparting again the negative charge to the membrane, to the inner membrane. Okay, so those are some reasons. No? Another is the inability of most ions to leave the cell. So remember, phosphates, they are usually found attached to adenine, forming ATP. And some phosphates are, of course, structural in nature. They make up the phospholipid bilayer. The proteins, they are large. They cannot really pass through the channels and across the cell membrane. So they now fail to leave the cells, again, imparting the negative charge. Okay, and then third is the electrogenic nature of the sodium-potassium pump or the sodium-potassium ATPase. Recall your primary active transport, an example of an active transport. Okay, so the sodium-potassium pump, if you can still recall your discussion, okay, exports 3 sodium ions and imports 2 potassium ions. So it means more positive ions or more cations are exported than cations imported. Again, contributing to the negative charge of the membrane. That's why, again, no, the resting membrane potential is again pegged at negative 70 millivolts. So ito, no? It's negative 70 millivolts. Okay? So let's, in order to explain that further, let's try to see a YouTube video.
The human brain alone contains about 100 billion nerve cells, called neurons. A neuron, like every other cell, has positively and negatively charged ions inside and outside. Further, a resting neuron has a greater negative charge on the inside surface of the plasma membrane and a greater positive charge on the outside surface. This partitioning of charge creates a voltage difference across the membrane known as the resting membrane potential, which can be measured using a voltmeter. On average, an intracellular electrode records a value of minus 70 millivolts. The resting membrane potential depends on two factors. First, it depends on the presence of sodium and potassium gradients across the plasma membrane. Specifically, there are more sodium ions outside the neuron than inside, and more potassium ions inside the neuron than outside. Second, the resting membrane potential depends on the differential permeability of the plasma membrane to sodium and potassium ions. Leak channels in the plasma membrane allow sodium and potassium ions to diffuse or leak down their concentration gradients. The membrane contains many more potassium leak channels than sodium leak channels. Thus, the membrane is much more permeable, or leaky, to potassium ions. As positively charged potassium ions leak out of the neuron, the inside surface of the membrane becomes negatively charged compared to the outside surface. If potassium was the only ion moving, the potential would stabilize at minus 90 millivolts. However, positively charged sodium ions leak into the neuron, which slightly offsets the negative charge and raises the voltmeter reading to minus 70 millivolts. Sodium-potassium pumps actively transport sodium ions out of the neuron and potassium ions back in, compensating for the sodium and potassium leaks. Thus, the pumps help to maintain the resting membrane potential.
Okay. Okay, so that now explains the resting membrane potential. No? Now, this is the end of our lecture for today because it's already 5 minutes before 10. So the second part of the discussion was actually recorded already. No, you can access that in your school book. It's about the generation of an action potential. No? But as a sneak peek to that part of the lecture, so let's watch another video. Mga 2 minutes lang naman to. Okay. Bakit may Netflix?
Nuestro cerebro se Neurons send signals over long distances by generating and propagating action potentials. Most action potentials originate near the axon hillock of the cell body in the initial segment of the axon. It then travels the entire length of the axon. A closer look reveals that during an action potential, voltage-gated channels open and close, altering the permeability of the plasma membrane to sodium and potassium ions. A threshold stimulus changes the shape of the voltage-gated sodium channels causing their activation gates to open. This event marks the beginning of phase 1 of the action potential, known as depolarization. As sodium ions diffuse into the axon, the membrane potential becomes less negative. This causes more voltage-gated sodium channels to open, and the membrane potential soars to plus 30 millivolts. At this point, two key events occur. The inactivation gates of voltage-gated sodium channels close, and voltage-gated potassium channels open. These two events mark the beginning of phase 2 of the action potential, known as repolarization. As potassium ions diffuse out of the axon, the membrane potential becomes negative again. However, the membrane potential continues in the negative direction, going beyond the resting state of minus 70 millivolts. This marks the beginning of phase 3 of the action potential, known as hyperpolarization. During this phase, voltage-gated potassium channels close and all voltage-gated sodium channels are released from inactivation. By the end of this phase, ions move through leak channels only, and the membrane potential returns to the resting state of minus 70 millivolts. The neuron is now ready to fire another action potential. Summary: generation of an action potential. A threshold stimulus opens voltage-gated sodium channels. Sodium ions diffuse into the axon, depolarizing it to plus 30 millivolts. Voltage-gated sodium channels close, and voltage-gated potassium channels open. Potassium ions diffuse out of the axon, repolarizing it to a negative value. The membrane potential briefly hyperpolarizes. Voltage-gated potassium channels close, and the membrane returns to the resting state of minus 70 millivolts.